Grand Awakening beloveds. Where were you before your mind occupied your body? What mindset were you in before you came into this plane? Did your parents summon you, or was your body created based on the pre-existing conditions of your mindset? These are all questions that you should be asking. And if you found my channel, if you're here listening to me right now, then welcome to your healing, because that's exactly why I am here for you. I want to give you some things to think about to expand your mind, because if your mind existed before your body was created, and more evidence is showing that this is true, then it's all about what you think about yourself. How you think is what you create and how you create. And once you get this down, once you understand, there's nothing that you can't create. So let's get to it. Questions. Questions are the way to explore. Questions take your mind to different places that your body could never travel. And your body is just a way for your mind to live out in a physical state and manifest all the things that it wants to experience. It's the true gold here. But the mind can also damage the body. It can damage it beyond healing. It can damage it to the point where it becomes so detrimental that the only choice is to perish in your body, and then it becomes a tomb. It becomes a trap instead of a way for you to break free. And it can be either or, depending on your mindset. I want you to really embrace change, because change is something that will always be the key to you gaining insight. And I'll say that again because it took a while to get that out. Change is the way and the key to you gaining insight. And insight is the only sight. Okay? It is the only sight that matters, because it is insight that creates outer sight. Okay? So people like change just as much as they like moving. And people hate moving. But the one thing about change that is so beneficial is the decluttering. You know how it is when you move into that new place and you have all that space there? Yeah. It's kind of refreshing. It gives you an opportunity to see a closer look, or take a closer look at the things that you don't really need to bring into your space. But if you don't change your mindset shortly after you move into that new space, it will be cluttered just like the last place. So the most important thing about change is looking at your habits, because your habits are your home. It's your habitat. It's where you reside, where your mind lives, is in habits. Your mind has a home just like your body has a home, because everything starts in the spirit world before it manifests in the physical. So you have to take a look at the cause of your physical conditions. And that's why I say in the beginning, was it the mind that created the body based on the pre-existing conditions before you came into this plane? Did your parents create the conditions for you to come into this plane based on your mindset? Did you have a purpose when you came here? There's so many things that we don't address about who and what we are and why we are here that need to be addressed, because if you don't, it's really easy to get caught up and distracted, and it's really easy to be tempted into doing things that don't serve you. Your health is more important than anything, and a healthy mind gives you a healthy body. A healthy body allows you to experience life without pain. And so does a healthy mind. And you see, the root of pain comes from the mind and suffering. How do you keep from suffering? You pay attention to where the suffering begins. And the one thing about this scientific vision or version of life that we focus on primarily is how to take something that's complicated and break it down into something simple. And science has been forever trying to do that. But a person who thinks backwards will teach other people to think backwards. And when everybody's thinking and walking backwards, it becomes normal. And people think that it's the thing to do, just walk backwards or to think backwards. But it does take you longer to get to the destination if you can't see where you're going. So the goal is to not take something complicated and try to break it down to its simplest form, but look at the simple things and how they become complicated. And that will show you how everything is created. So suffering begins with the mindset. It begins with the thought that something outside of you is more deserving, that something outside of you is more worthy. It begins with the fact or the idea. It begins with an idea, not the fact, because it's definitely not a fact. But the idea that you don't have everything that you need to be happy, to be safe, to be whole, to be free, is where suffering begins. Everything that you need is already there. And to learn to be content with what you have is the hardest thing for almost everybody to do. When you realize that there's nothing really to do except be you, then what can I say? Like, all of the rebirth will end. You'll stop coming back over and over trying to figure this out because you will have arrived. And the goal is to know that there's something inside of you occupying this physical body that knows it is not anything else except all that it is. I know that sounds confusing, but let me say it again. You cannot be separate from something when you are everything. And once you realize that you are everything, there's nothing that you cannot be. So realizing and understanding and living in that and walking in that, embracing that, owning that thought helps you to be anything that you need to be at any given time. Here, you don't have to look for being something outside of you, because that's where suffering begins. When you set yourself up for failure, it's because you have compared yourself to something outside of you that you think you are not already. And I hope this makes sense. But to give yourself the opportunity to change your mind is to explore different ways of looking at things, different perceptions. There's no right and there's no wrong. There's only what is. And because people can see things so many different ways, you have to look at it like a circle. It's 360 degrees. And at no point are any two people at the exact same place at the exact same time in that circle. So everyone has a different view depending on where they are. And that's okay. It's okay to have a different view from your neighbor or from your friend. It's okay to have a different view from anybody. It's okay. Don't get into an argument or a tug of war or fighting match because someone disagrees with you. That's not anything personal against you. That's just how they see things. And guess what? That will change. The more they live, the more they experience. And if it doesn't, that's okay too. But you should be happy for people just to be them. You should not want to change them into who you are. And that's why I always preface these videos with saying that these are my thoughts. This is how I see the world. It is neither right or wrong. It is just who I am. It is how I navigate through these waters. Does not have to be how you see things, but if you can share this vision with me, then it will give you another way to see something in order to have a new experience. And so I just wanted to share this with you because I am your healing. And if you find any form of healing in these words or in this view, then I've done my job. Thanks for watching, beloveds. Until next time.